Welcome to the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. I am your host, Chad Hufford, and this is the podcast where we celebrate the unsung heroes of the working world. Each week, we dive into the incredible stories of honest, hardworking folks who have found financial success through grit, determination, and good old-fashioned elbow grease. So if you're ready to be inspired and learn how to turn your hard work into your own success story, you're in the right place. This is the Blue Collar Millionaire Show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. This time we are doing a follow-up episode. Seems like it's been a while since we've done one of these, but doing a follow-up on Cal Lowers.
Yes.
You've known Cal for quite some time, it sounds like.
Yeah, quite some time. Our families go way back. His brother coached basketball at Diamond. Dad, very influential as a pastor in a lot of the church communities. You know, he took us back to, basically him in the academy.
Yeah.
Making $9 an hour.
That was crazy to hear.
Yeah. Which, I mean, even if you adjust for inflation, he was making barely minimum wage, but still found a way to save for the future. He explained it growing up. I mean, his dad was on a pastor's salary. They learned how to be content with little. And I mean, that was one of the big things that struck a nerve with me, is just not telling himself a story of all the things that he needed to be content, but really focusing on the blessings that are already in his life. And he used that word blessing several times. I think gratitude is a huge part of contentment, and it's really, really hard to save for the future if you're discontent in the present.
Right. Yeah, it seems like he just carried with him a sense of gratitude. Even his time off was spent just working more. My story is way different than Cal's, but it reminded me a lot of when I started welding. And when I started welding, I wasn't making a whole lot of money, but I had a friend that had told me, hey, stick some money into a Roth IRA for me. And that's what I did every single month. And it was like, I'm doing this first, I guess. And I didn't know why I was doing it at the time, but I did it anyway. Yeah, no, it was a really great story just to hear, like you said, him say the word blessing and just how much of a hard worker he must have been.
That was the thing I was thinking of too. It takes hard work.
Yeah.
He was never looking for an easy path or a shortcut. He walked into it with the assumption that he was going to have to play the long game. And it wouldn't be anything that he did one day. It was the little things he did every day, which is, again, so many of the people that we work with, so many people we talk to, maybe people we've had on this podcast. There wasn't this one moment. It was a steady commitment over time. And thankfully, for Cal, growing up in a home where he learned to live within his means, he learned contentment, super huge, but also had people around him. He was willing to ask for advice.
Sure.
They said men don't ask for directions, but even though he didn't get the advice he thought he wanted, he was probably looking for something about, how to check the valve in your oxygen tank before going through a fire or something like that. But he said almost to a man or woman that he asked for advice on, it was something about the future.
Over and over again. It sounded like that deferred comp popped up over and over again.
Well, deferred comp is voluntary as a firefighter. It's not something that now you might be automatically enrolled in. I'm not 100%, but it is voluntary. It's something you don't have to do. Unlike their pension system, which your first paycheck, you just start. You don't have to make that choice, which, I mean, I think there's some benefits to that. It's a whole other conversation. But he had to voluntarily choose to not only take the pay cut when he took the job, but cut that down even further to prepare for his eventual retirement, which would end up coming 3 decades later.
I like how he said that he just made a habit out of it. And you said you just made the decision, right?
Right.
And it was pretty. The other part that I found interesting, and maybe it wasn't quite as relatable to my scenario, but the lifestyle creep, it didn't seem like it crept up on him. Even as his pay went up, it doesn't sound like he started going on the trips. He just kept working hard forever.
And they were able to do some cool things, but they knew what mattered to them.
Sure.
And he did say no to a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Cal and Leslie, I'm sure, didn't travel and take as many trips as they would have liked. And right after we stopped recording, he mentioned just getting back from France.
Yeah.
So so some of those trips, especially going overseas, the things that were harder to do back then because you're taking big blocks of time off. He used that for commercial fishing.
Right. I know.
So those big blocks of time where people maybe were doing other trips and things like that. He was, as you said, just working harder. So, but he didn't sacrifice everything.
Sure.
He just made intentional sacrifices to ensure that he could pour himself into what mattered most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like those 4 points that he brought up. His first one was be consistent. And so just what we're talking about, but then also pay yourself. It reminded me of that interview I did with Terry, where he said, one of the criteria that I always gave myself was pay myself first. I think that's a really important thing for some of these young people to hear as they're starting off in one of these careers.
When Cal mentioned it as well, he didn't have to make the decision. It wasn't like he was holding his paycheck and having to put some of it back. It happened automatically. And that is a huge benefit for not just employer-based retirement plans, but you said you're like a Roth IRA. I mean, people can do that with a Roth IRA or with a traditional IRA, is setting it up automatically. So you don't really get used to your full paycheck coming in, which, back to your point about the lifestyle creep.
Right.
That is it. They all fit together. It's kind of like chicken or the egg, but living beneath your means, avoiding lifestyle creep, being content, paying yourself first. They're all facets of the same thing. And I don't know where necessarily it starts other than just making the decision that this is what you're going to do. And it naturally, all those other pieces fit into place. You are naturally going to be more content when you have chosen to live within your means. And when you have decided to pay yourself first, like all those things just fit together and create what really has been tremendous freedom for Cal and his family going forward.
What was it that he said? He was talking about how, well, I just made the decision to do pay the max into my 457 and then reel things back if I end up spending too much outside. How did that go?
No, is exactly that. Is I'm going to decide. He made a commitment, and then if he had to, he was going to revisit that and maybe back it down. Most people do the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I'll see how things go, and if it's convenient, then I'll add more. And it's never convenient. It's never convenient to take money out of your current paycheck and give it to the future version of yourself. It's never convenient to pay yourself first. And that's what's so hard, is when people are looking for a convenient time to invest. And this goes way beyond finance, obviously, but it's never convenient to do the hard thing for the future. Mm-hmm. So he made a decision. He was going to do the hard thing and then see if it needed to be adjusted.
Sure.
Rather than, hey, I'm just gonna do status quo, and then if I've got extra room, I can always invest more in the future. Because you and I both know, with raising kids and things like this, life happens. There's never extra room in your budget unless you make it.
I like how he said, "Don't wait" either. So that was an important part of that. Don't wait. Get started early. Do you know what he does now? Like what his lifestyle? I know he's mentioned the part about France, but is he able to do a lot more of the things that
he is? But he also had a good balance though too. I mean, there was a lot of intentionality. There was a lot of sacrifice, but intentional with his kids, involved in his church, some of the ministries his dad was involved. So it wasn't like he put his life on hold for 30 years.
Right.
And he mentioned having a plan, having a specific goal, having a target was, I think, really helpful for him, because it allowed him to balance, how much do I need to sacrifice today to stay on track for the future? Mm-hmm. Because we're over sacrificing or working more than is necessary. I mean, it's kind of like the Goldilocks thing. there is a spot where it's just enough.
Right.
You don't want to be too hot, don't want to be too cold. We've talked to people who have over-sacrificed, where, man, they get a chance to retire. They got more money than they ever thought possible, certainly more than they needed, but they've got nobody to share it with, or they don't have their health in order. I mean, we were joking with Cal during the episode about, knee replacements and things like he's
Sure.
replaced a lot of things on his body because he played hard.
Yeah, he's a firefighter.
It wasn't because he didn't take care of himself. It's just he went out and some bike riding accidents, some pickleball accidents, falling off a ladder a couple times.
Geez.
But he went out and still enjoyed things and very involved in the community. He had a balance between living in the moment and preparing for the future.
Gotcha. One of the other things that he had mentioned is don't do it alone during this episode. And I thought that was awesome. He had a community around him. Do you see that as a pretty important factor in all of this and on all of the aspects of finance and building a strong retirement community, or not just that, but a community of people that are going to pull you into retirement as well?
I think it's vital. Yeah. And there's so many different areas, but just we've talked about it. It's just, this is work. The opportunities usually look like hard work, and it's easy to get burnout. It's easy to get fatigued, and to be surrounded with people who are going to pull you and push you and encourage you. Like we said in the episode, we said it before, finance is a team sport, and it's so common to compartmentalize that area of your life. And just like politics and religion, you just don't talk about it with people, right? But they did. And he made a habit of inviting people into his life to encourage him, to keep him accountable. And then he did the same for them. And that is so vital. It's taking a teamwork approach to finance. And I think in firefighting, I think there's more of a tendency towards that, but you still have to make the decision to do that. Sure. And even if, again, we mentioned in the episode, but even if you don't have that natural community in your job or in your church, or wherever, then you have to build it. Just think of, like, I'm going to upset some people because I'm going to make fun of CrossFit, but think of the CrossFit thing. Like, the reason CrossFit works isn't because of the phenomenal equipment that they have. I mean, some of these gyms, they call them boxes for a reason. Like, you're just showing up and it's a box, and they've got some like random stuff. Pick up that and then swing it around a little bit, and pick up the other thing. And I mean, I've got my own feelings about overuse injuries and things like that, and some of the periodization. And we don't need to get into all that, but like sometimes there isn't a great long-term plan where it's just like, hey, let's get a bunch of people together and we'll do hard things and we'll move stuff,
right?
But there's community there, and there's people that encourage each other and people that lift each other. Not everybody has motivation. And that's one of the things that we overemphasize emotions and motivation in our culture, again, across the board. But when you have a community, you're going back to CrossFit. Like, if I know that you're waiting for me, other people, it doesn't matter if I'm motivated. I've made a commitment, and I'm going to not just let me down, I'm going to let you down and other people down.
Right.
And then I start working out, and then the motivation starts to build. But a lot of times we get that backwards. We think we're going to work out when we're motivated. We're going to save when we're motivated. We're going to get on a budget when we're motivated. We're going to invest when we're motivated. And what Cal was talking about, even without saying it, is sometimes you just have to commit to the action and allow the feelings to follow.
Sure. You just got to make the decision.
Got to make the decision, regardless of what you're feeling about at the time. The motivation, that comes and goes. That's fickle. But the commitment is making a decision long after the emotion of the moment is gone. Like, you feel like, oh yeah, it's going to be great, we're going to do this. Like, no, sometimes it's mundane. It's not. And that's where having that community is so vital.
Oh, I think
to be a source of encouragement when you're not feeling the motivation.
How do we go about building some of these types of communities in the workplace?
Well, one of the things we've done a lot of is actually doing workshops at the employer group, going in, whether that is going into the police department or to a fire station or into any other place of business, and talking about these things and empowering people to utilize the tools at their disposal to create and build a better life for themselves together.
Right.
So they all have access to the same tools, or a lot of the same tools, whether that's a retirement program or employee benefits or things like that, but they have different goals. They have different things going on. So you're taking those general principles, but creating camaraderie around that. But then you also get the encouragement and accountability that happens too, where people realize, I don't have to do this on an island.
Right.
Like, and we talked about the episode with Cal. I mean, there's probably, depending how you measure it, this is subjective, but probably 7 major economic panics that he invested through during his career. And they didn't worry about it because they were weathering the storm together. You had people in your proverbial foxhole with you. And that's one of the things that we try to foster here is a sense of community within employer groups.
Sure.
So not only are we trying to help people get the most of what their employers are offering them, but giving them a sense of, we're doing this together. We're all in this together.
Yeah, I know that one of my clients is actually showing up to one of our events that we have scheduled. Just our company, well, I'm not supposed to call it a barbecue, but the picnic that we're having.
There used to be barbecues.
Yeah.
We're doing pizza this year, I think.
Yeah, so I'm not supposed to call it a barbecue anymore. But in this person expressed to me like, hey, I'm looking forward just to meeting other people within the community that Veritas has developed. And so I think that's really cool. And it goes to show you that we're trying to build something more of a community within Anchorage, within Fairbanks, Mat-Su Valley, and those places, and employer groups like you're talking about.
Well, and we do realize that what we're asking people to do is hard. And, it's not easy to be on a budget. It's not easy to pay yourself first. And we are the minority. If everybody was living by the principles that we encourage and we teach, people would be in a lot better shape financially and have more freedom. But it's not happening. People do buy things with money they don't have to impress people they don't even like.
Right.
And they don't pay themselves first. In fact, what most people do is they pay for things they bought in the past because they're buried in debt. So instead of paying their future selves, they're paying for past mistakes at the beginning of every month.
Exactly.
And that's normal. So what we're asking people to do is to dare to be different, to push against what's normal. And that is hard. And this might be a silly analogy, but you're swimming upstream with a school of fish. It's a lot easier to do that than swimming up all by yourself.
Right.
And you're going against the tide or whatever cliche you want to use. But if you're doing it by yourself, it's really easy to get misdirected. It's easy to get fatigued. It's easy, honestly, to quit. But when you've got people around you, it doesn't take, you don't need hundreds. You can still be the minority, but finding people within that minority to say, yes, we're going to commit to doing this together. And we're going to be a source of encouragement and trust and accountability. And just think back to I can't remember what verse it is in Ecclesiastes, but Solomon writing about a threefold cord is not easily broken. And the importance of having somebody to pull you up when you've fallen down. And so often in life, we try to take all these steps to make sure we never fall down. Life is going to hit you. You will fall down.
Right.
You need to have people in your corner to help pick you back up.
And I love the fact that I know that that's the person that Cal was for lots of other people. Even though he had that community of guys with him at the beginning, he became that for so many people in this community.
But because it does. It goes both ways. I mean, there's going to be times when you're the one picking somebody up, but there's going to be times when that person is doing it for you. And having those people that you trust, that love you enough to be uncomfortable with you is absolutely vital. And that might be one of the most powerful lessons from his story.
Yeah, that was awesome. Well, great interview with Cal Lowers.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Millionaire Show. We hope this episode has been inspiring and beneficial to you. If you want help on your journey to financial freedom, reach out to us at veritasalaska.com. We'd love to sit down over a cup of coffee with you, either here in our office or virtually, and get to know you and your needs. And though this podcast is free of charge, we do ask that you please do us 2 quick favors. If you enjoyed the episode,
Give our pod a great rating on iTunes or whatever podcast platform you use, and also give us a follow on Instagram. We hope you have a wonderful day filled with gratitude and intentionality. God bless.